The rain had not stopped in 2 days. Heavy drops pounded the roof of the transport cage. The skies were dark and the road was nothing but wet mud and broken stones. Inside the small metal pod, a girl sat chained to the seat, soaking, silent, and scared. Her name was Lisanna. She was not human. Her skin was pale silver, her eyes glowing blue. She wore a torn cloth dress, her arms and legs bound by glowing cuffs. She had once been a high-born student in the alien capital. Now, she was a prisoner, and she believed this was her last ride. The man driving the armored transport was quiet. Human, he wore military gear with a black helmet covering most of his face. Strong arms gripped the controls and his eyes watched the road ahead. His name was Eli Cross, a former soldier turned convoy pilot. He didn't speak, didn't ask questions. He had one job: deliver the alien girl to a faraway compound known only as Sector 9. Everyone knew what happened in Sector 9. No one came back. Lisanna tried not to cry. She had been told that humans didn't like weakness, that they saw alien women as dangerous or worthless, that Eli would likely drop her off, take his payment, and forget her name forever. Still, she couldn't help but ask, voice shaking, "Is it far?" Eli didn't answer at first. Then after a long pause, he said, "Closer than it was yesterday." His voice was deep. Not cruel, but not kind either. She looked away, shivering. As they drove through the foggy jungle paths, Lisanna saw things in the trees, creatures watching them. But they didn't attack. Eli had installed old human defense systems on the roof. Blue lights flickered, keeping the predators back. Why would he do that for a prisoner, she wondered. Maybe he just didn't want the cargo damaged, or maybe something else. That night they stopped under a metal canopy in the ruins of an old station. Eli stepped out, checked the area, and then returned. He placed a bottle of clean water inside the cage. She looked at it, then at him. He said nothing and turned away. "Thank you," she said quietly. He stopped walking for just a second, then kept going. Inside the cage, she whispered to herself, "Maybe humans aren't all monsters." But she didn't know the truth yet. She didn't know why Eli had taken this job. She didn't know the real secret of Sector 9. And she didn't know that Eli was about to make the most dangerous decision of his life. By the second morning, Lisanna had stopped asking questions. The rain had slowed, but the road was still rough. The cage she sat in rocked with every bump. Her arms ached from the restraints. Her legs were numb. She stared through the narrow window as trees passed by. The jungle looked endless. Gray skies above, mud and silence below. She was tired, scared, and confused because something didn't feel right. The human driver, Eli, didn't speak much. He checked their course, adjusted systems, and kept driving. But Lisanna noticed the path on the hollow map. Behind him, they weren't heading straight to Sector 9. They were avoiding it. Curved routes, detours through back roads. Twice they stopped where there was no fuel station, just ruins and old towers, and he never made a call. Not even to report their location. Why? Why was he acting like he didn't want anyone to know where they were? That night, Lisanna watched him from behind the bars as he sat by a campfire. He was eating something from a silver pouch, silent as always. Then, he did something she didn't expect. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small folded picture, a woman and a little girl, both smiling. He stared at it for a long time. Lisanna felt something twist inside her. He's not just a soldier, she thought. He's someone who lost something. She dared to speak again. Who were they? Eli didn't look up, but after a long pause he replied, "My wife and daughter." She blinked. "Where are they now?" He didn't answer. He just folded the photo and put it back in his coat. Later that night, she noticed her ankle cuff was loose, just slightly, not enough to slip out, but enough to wonder, had it come loose from the rough road, or had someone loosened it? She stared at the metal ring glowing orange around her skin. Was this a trap, or was someone giving her a chance? The next morning, Eli climbed into the transport without a word, but as they drove, he finally spoke. "Do you want to know the truth?" Lisanna turned slowly. "The truth about what?" He looked straight ahead, his voice low. "We're not going to Sector 9. Her heart stopped. "What?" she breathed. "I took this job to get you away," he said, "because I know what they do to your kind in that place." She couldn't speak. Her throat felt dry. "You're not a criminal, are you?" he asked. She shook her head. "No. I was only standing in a protest. They said I was trouble because I refused to stay quiet." He nodded. "I figured." Tears formed in her eyes. She had been ready to die. She had given up. But this human, this man, had risked everything to give her a chance. "But why?" she asked. "Why would you help me?" He didn't answer for a long time. Then he said, "Because I saw what they did to someone I loved, and I didn't stop it. I won't make that mistake again." Lisanna stared at him. Her heart was racing. She didn't know where they were going now, or how far they could run. But for the first time, she didn't feel like a prisoner. She felt like she was being saved. The truck moved faster now. Eli had changed. Course again, driving through rough hills and broken roads. The jungle was behind them. Now rocky canyons stretched out under a purple sky. Lisanna sat in the back, her hands still chained, but not tightly anymore. He had loosened the restraints again. She could move her arms. Her feet were free, but she stayed quiet. She trusted him, and that scared her more than the chains ever had. Suddenly the truck beeped. A red warning flashed across Eli's screen. Unidentified patrol ship approaching. Altitude, low. Speed, high. Eli cursed under his breath. He pulled a lever, activating the signal jammer. The truck's systems dimmed, the lights flickered. He looked at the mirror. "Lisanna," he said quickly. "Stay low. Don't move." "What's wrong?" she asked, voice trembling. "Someone's following us." High in the sky, a sleek black patrol ship cut through the clouds. It wasn't Zenthari. It was private enforcement. Mercenaries hired by the Galactic court. Paid to retrieve escaped prisoners, or destroy them. And they had just spotted Eli's transport. Inside their cockpit, the officer gave the order, target acquired. "Prepare to fire warning shot." The ground shook as the first blast hit. The rear of the truck exploded in sparks. Metal cracked. Smoke filled the cabin. Lisanna screamed and ducked as Eli swerved hard. He grabbed the comm switch. "This is civilian. Transport R-47, I am carrying no weapons. Cease fire." But the reply came cold. "You are off route and transporting illegal cargo. Prepare to be disabled." Eli punched the controls. "Hold on." The truck roared forward. Inside the pod, Lisanna slid across the floor, her hands still shaking. They were going to die. The next blast would tear them apart. But then, the truck jolted sharply. It dove off the main path and down a steep rocky slope. "Are you crazy?" Lisanna shouted. "Little bit," Eli replied. Dust and stones flew everywhere as the truck bounced down the side of a hill. The patrol ship followed, firing small plasma bursts that lit up the ground. One hit the roof. Another shattered the back camera. Still, Eli kept going. The slope ended in a tunnel, an old mining shaft. He slammed into it just as the next blast hit the cliff above. Rocks fell. Smoke filled the air. Then, silence. They had vanished underground. Eli stopped the engine and listened. No more engines overhead, just the echo of dust and wind. He turned back to Lisanna. "Are you okay?" She was breathing fast, but she nodded. He opened the cage, not just to check on her, to set her free. She stared at him, then at the broken truck. "You didn't have to do all this." He looked her in the eye. "Yes, I did." For the first time, she stepped out of the cage without fear. Her chains hit the ground. She was no longer a prisoner, she was a survivor. But above ground, the patrol ship circled. The officer inside activated a beacon. Mark this location. Reinforcements will arrive in 2 hours. We'll find them. The air inside the tunnel was thick and cold. Eli walked ahead with a dim torch in one hand, his other holding a small scanner. Behind him, Lisanna followed quietly, her bare feet brushing against old dust and metal. "Where are we?" she asked softly. "Old mining tunnels," Eli said. "Abandoned over a decade ago. Humans and Zenthari used to work side by side here, before the war." Lisanna looked around. Strange writing covered the walls, some human, some alien, all forgotten, just like her. Far above them, the patrol ship had left, but only for now. Reinforcements were coming. They had 2 hours, maybe less. The tunnel turned sharply. They entered a wider chamber filled with crates, broken machines, and a collapsed transport vehicle. Eli scanned the floor. No movement. "We'll rest here for now." He sat down, wincing. A burn mark was visible on his shoulder, hidden under his jacket until now. "You're hurt," Lisanna said, stepping forward. "It's fine." "No, it's not." She moved beside him, tore part of her dress and gently pressed it against the burn. Eli winced, then looked at her. "You're not like they said you'd be." "Neither are you," she replied. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Lisanna spoke. "What happened in the war? Between our people?" Eli's voice was low. "A lie. That's what happened." He pulled out a small, rusty badge and handed it to her. It was Zenthari. "Belonged to my friend," he said. "We fought together. We believed in peace." "What happened to him?" Eli looked away. "They called him a traitor, for loving a human." Lisanna held the badge close. "That's why you're helping me." "Because I didn't help him when it mattered," Eli said. "I won't make that mistake again." Suddenly a noise echoed through the tunnel. Not footsteps, not machines. A low, deep growl. Eli stood, pulling out his blaster. "Stay behind me." Lisanna backed into the shadows, heart pounding. From the darkness, something crawled into view. A tunnel beast, 10 feet long, bone-white skin, blind but fast. A creature left behind when the tunnels were sealed off. It sniffed the air, then lunged. Eli fired. The blast hit its side, but it kept coming. Lisanna grabbed a metal rod from the floor and threw it at the beast's leg. It stumbled. That gave Eli the opening he needed. One clean shot to the head. The beast collapsed. Breathing hard, Eli lowered his weapon. "You saved me," he said. "I thought you saved me," Lisanna replied. He gave a tired smile. "Maybe we save each other." Behind them, a door slowly opened, power still faintly running through the old system. Beyond it, a small escape tunnel, and a map. A forgotten route leading to the neutral zone. A way to freedom. But time was running out. Above ground, new ships were entering orbit, and they weren't coming to ask questions. They were coming to end the story. Eli's flashlight flickered as they moved deeper into the escape route. The tunnel was narrow now. Old warning signs glowed red on the yacht walls. Pipes dripped cold water. Every few steps, dust fell from above. Lisanna kept close behind him. Her hands still shook from the beast encounter. Her eyes were wide but alert. Eli checked his scanner again. "The neutral zone's exit is less than 2 miles, he said. "We keep moving, we make it." "What happens if we don't?" she asked. He paused. "Then they catch us. And this time, they won't hesitate." Above them, a new squad of patrol ships had landed. These weren't scouts. These were recovery teams, with orders to retrieve the prisoner or kill anyone helping her. One soldier checked a beacon. Heat signature. Detected underground. 2 life forms, moving fast. The commander nodded. "Seal the exits, prepare to flood the tunnels." Back below, Eli and Lisanna pushed forward, but the air was changing. Hot, heavy. Something was wrong. Eli touched the wall. It was warming. "They're trying to force us out," he muttered. "They'll heat the vents, maybe gas them next." "Then let's move," Lisanna said. Her voice was sharper now, stronger. They ran, through rusted walkways, past old minecarts and dead lights, until they reached a split. One path led up, toward the exit, the other led down, a small vent shaft. Eli pointed. "We go up." Lisanna stopped. "No," she said. "What?" "You go up, I go down." "Don't be stupid," Eli snapped. "We stay together." But Lisanna stepped back. "If we both go, they'll catch us." She pulled out the map. "This tunnel down here, it leads to the surface past their scan zone. I'm small enough to fit. You're not." He frowned. "And if you're wrong?" She smiled gently. "I've been wrong before. But this time, I feel right." Eli hesitated. But then, he placed his hand on her shoulder. "You're brave." "No," she said. "I'm just tired of being hunted." She turned to go, then looked back. "Thank you, Eli, for giving me more than I ever thought I'd have." He nodded once. "If you make it out," he said, "look for a town called Perrin Station, neutral territory. I'll find you." And then, she vanished into the shaft. Eli turned and ran toward the upper exit. Above, the patrol team closed in. Explosives were set. "Seal the vent tunnels," the commander ordered. But Lisanna had already cleared the last crawl space. She rolled out onto the surface, covered in dirt, coughing under the open sky. A dry, wide valley stretched before her, empty, quiet, free. Behind her, the tunnel exploded. She didn't know if Eli made it, but she ran anyway. She ran as hard and fast as her legs would go, because now she had a choice, and she chose life. The desert winds were dry and cold. Lisanna walked alone across the empty valley, her feet bruised, her legs shaking, but she didn't stop. Every step took her farther from fear and closer to freedom. She didn't look back, not at the smoking mountains behind her, not at the place where she thought Eli might have died. She couldn't, because if she looked back, she might break. Hours passed. The sky shifted from pink to gold, and then she saw it. Perrin Station, a small outpost built into the side of a rock cliff. Neutral zone. No soldiers, no patrols, just merchants, workers, travelers, people who asked no questions. She walked through the gate, her dress torn, her face covered in dust. The guards looked at her with mild curiosity, but no one stopped her. She was just another lost soul in a broken galaxy, exactly what she needed to be. Inside the station, she found a quiet corner in a food hall. She ordered the cheapest soup they had. Her hands trembled as she lifted the spoon. The taste was salty, rough, but it was the best thing she'd eaten in weeks, because it was the first thing she ate. As a free person, then a voice behind her said, "You didn't wait for me." She turned. Her eyes widened. It was Eli, alive, bruised, limping, but smiling. "You made it," she gasped. He sat beside her, dropping a heavy pack. "They tried to corner me at the upper exit. I went through the east shaft instead, took longer, lost them." Lisanna stared at him, unable to speak for a moment. Then she laughed, a real, joyful sound. "I thought you were dead." He shrugged. "Almost." For a while, they just sat there. No words, just the strange, peaceful silence that comes after a storm. Then Eli said, "They'll come again." "They'll search." Lisanna nodded. "I know. But we're not running anymore." She looked at him confused. "We're not?" Eli pulled something from his jacket, a data chip. "What's that?" "Evidence," he said. "Video logs, intercepted orders, medical scans, everything the court didn't want anyone to know about Sector 9. Her eyes widened. "You took this from your ship?" He nodded. "Before I accepted the job. I knew something wasn't right." Lisanna leaned forward, voice tense. "What are you going to do with it?" "We're going to show the galaxy what they've done," Eli said. "Not just to you, but to hundreds like you." Her breath caught. You really think anyone will listen? Eli looked at her. They will, if you tell the story. And in that moment, Lisanna understood. This wasn't the end of her journey. It was only the beginning. She had survived the chains, survived the lies. Now, she would speak, and the stars would listen. The recording was short, just 5 minutes long. Lisanna sat in front of a plain wall in Paran Station, her silver skin bruised but glowing, her voice calm but strong. She told the truth. About the protest, about her arrest, about the journey in chains, and about the human who was sent to deliver her to death, but chose to save her instead. Eli uploaded the video. The data chip with proof of Sector 9's crimes was embedded into it. Within hours it spread, first through neutral zones, then through human networks, then, shockingly, through Zenthari channels. Some tried to take it down, but it was too late. The story had reached the people, and now the people were angry. She was just a student. She was supposed to disappear. And the human saved her? Why aren't we hearing this on official news? What is Sector 9 really hiding? Back at Paran Station, Lisanna watched it all unfold. She sat beside Eli, both of them, quiet as hundreds of messages lit up the screen. Not just sympathy, not just shock, support from other prisoners who escaped, from soldiers who refused orders, from humans who believed in better, and from aliens who were tired of living in fear. Then came the message Eli had feared, a bounty, posted on both of them. Massive, enough to make any hunter chase them across the stars. Lisanna's heart sank. "They're coming," she whispered. Eli loaded his weapon slowly. Let them. That night, the station was dark, quiet, too quiet. Eli stood at the edge of the loading bay watching the road, and then, shadows, a ship. 3 armed figures stepped out, silent, fast. Bounty hunters. One raised his weapon, but before he could fire, a light flickered above them and Lisanna's voice echoed through hidden speakers. "People of the stars, are you watching?" Her message played again, on screens throughout the station. More lights turned on, doors opened, and one by one civilians began to step outside. Some humans, some aliens, none armed, just watching. The hunters hesitated. They weren't ready for this. They came for an easy kill, not for a movement, not for witnesses. And then the station guard, an old silent man, stepped forward and said, "You touch her, you go through us." The bounty hunters backed down, boarded their ship, and left. No shots fired, just silence and change. 2 days later, Lisanna was offered protection from 5 neutral planets. An official hearing on Sector 9 began on Earth's outer court. Her name became a symbol, not of rebellion, but of hope. She stood once more before a camera, not in chains, not afraid, but ready, and she spoke. "You can't silence the truth forever. You can kill the messenger, but someone else will rise next, and the next one won't be alone." She looked into the lens, into millions of eyes across space, and ended with 4 simple words: "I am still here."